This week on the Media Boss Podcast.
Digital in itself, a channel. It's a method of reaching people. Within digital marketing, you've probably got a dozen or more methods of getting to people. Showing up in search results, showing up with ads in search results.
Media Boss Podcast is brought to you by two of our new partners. One is Pantheon. I can't wait to tell you about them later. And brought to you by Convert and Flow. You're going to learn so much about them. But now it's time for the Media Boss Podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Media Boss Podcast. I'm Dr. Barrett Matthews, and I am thrilled to have you here. Guys, look, I have another fantastic show, as you probably guessed, and I have an even more fantastic guest, as you probably guessed, because I usually have some great content to share with you. I have great guests. It ain't coming from me, guys. It's coming from them, and I think that they do a great job of sharing information with you, and today is no different. Now, if you're joining the Media Boss Podcast for the very first time, I want to share with you what this podcast is about. If you're a speaker, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a coach, if you're an author, if you're a thought leader, someone who needs to get their message out and wants to draw in more people, well, let me tell you, what you need to do is become a media boss. And what is that? That means you're using media to get your message out there on various platforms. Now, whether it could be television, it could be podcasting, it could be books, blogging, it could be film, it could be social media. The thing is, you should be using all of them at one time because your audience uses any form of media to get their information. You need to be wherever they are looking. And when you do that, you become a media boss. Now, for those of you who are listening for the first, second, third, or whatever time, what I want you to do is make sure you're subscribed to the podcast and you're sharing it. Let everyone know that you are following the Media Boss Podcast. Now, I like to start off every episode with something I like to call the Media Minute. Now, what is the Media Minute? The Media Minute is where I share something about media that, it could be a tip, it could be some news, it could be just something that I wanted to share with you. And today I wanted to share this. If you are talking about social media, a lot of people ask me all the time, they think that all I talk about is social media, all I do is social media. No, I deal with various forms. But one thing I want to tell you about social media as it pertains to promoting your business and to other people, hire someone. Stop trying to do everything by yourself. Hire someone. There are people out there who specialize in social media, who actually know how to put together a strategy and know how to put together all of your systems to get it out there. And they can tell you exactly the right thing to say, when to say it, how to say it, and hire somebody, guys. That's the best tip I have for you. And that's the Media Minute. Now, today, my guest I'm excited to have today, let me tell you something. This guy's smarter than me. He has a master's degree with honors in instructional design and educational technology. He is named a top 20 LinkedIn influencer. Yeah, a top 20 LinkedIn influencer. The man has done so many things, created so many courses. He's created for big name companies, guys, big name companies like HP, Microsoft, IBM. He also has done training and coaching for influencers all over and received awards for it. And he's a husband and a father of 4 girls. Man, he's a girl dad if ever there was one. I want to bring to the Media Boss Podcast none other than Matt Bailey. Matt, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you, Barrett. It is a pleasure to be here. I appreciate that.
No problem. No problem, man. So let's talk digital marketing, man. In your words, what is digital marketing for someone who is brand new to that term at all?
Wow, it is, the term marketing and digital marketing is really starting to blur because you can buy television through Google now. So, we distinguish digital because digital is in itself a channel. It's a method of reaching people. Within digital marketing, you've probably got a dozen or more methods of getting to people. Showing up in search results, showing up with ads in search results, social media, as you said. But then even, if I say I want to go into social media, you've got 20 choices to make there, and are you going to do it with images? Are you going to do it with video? Are you going to do it with text, or are you going to blog? Are you going to podcast? There's so much, now I like to tell people, what media are you comfortable with? And then we'll talk about social media. So it really, I think we make that digital marketing distinction because 20 years ago, marketing didn't really affect our lives much.
Yeah.
If you're watching TV, you'd see some ads, there's newspaper, but now digital is such a part of our lives. We see thousands of more ads or marketing messages a day than we ever saw 10, 20 years ago. Let's not even talk about 30 years ago.
Yeah, you're right. And it's funny because something you said there that was real interesting. When you start them out saying, which media are you comfortable with? And I always tell people, I said, your clients out there that want to pay you, they consume their media in their own way. Whatever information they get, some listen to podcasts, some watch TV. They don't all consume it the same way, but they can still be your client.
Right.
And I like that what you said there, which media you're comfortable with to start, then we'll go somewhere. Because the thing is, if you stay in that realm in which you're comfortable, you're going to miss a whole lot of people.
And that's where I like, and it's one of those things where, I've been an entrepreneur a couple of times, and it's one of those things where, you start out with no budget. And you've got to do something. And I think because of that, I've always been a master of what's free. Okay. Where do I start there? What's free? What can I get into and where can I start? And then when I start seeing some return, now I can put some money into it. Yeah. But, having 4 girls, I can't put that much money into it because it's going to other places. So, and then, I got to get permission. So I've got to put, money where I know I'm going to, for you, man. Yeah, I got to put it where I know I'm going to see some return. So I start with that let's start where you feel comfortable. Now, are you meeting people there? To your point, are you meeting customers there? Are they responding to that? What I find is when I can start producing something that I like. I'll give you a great example is I used to write blog articles all the time. In fact, right now, you go to my website, I think the last blog, quote unquote, article is probably 2 years old.
Oh, wow.
I hate writing blog articles. I think I'm a good writer. I've had people say I am, but you know what I do better, Barrett? I do podcasts better. I do videos better. And so I started my podcast as a way of staying in touch with students that have been through courses. I wanted a central place where we could continue to meet, communicate. But what I found was when I write a blog post, over the next year or two, I'll get thousands of views of it. Yeah. But the average page time was about 40 seconds. Now, if I'm writing an 800 to 1,000 word article and the average time is 40 seconds, I'm like I'm terrible at math, but I know enough to know that no one's really reading it. They're scanning it. They're going through it. But when I make an hour-long podcast and I have hundreds, maybe 1,000 downloads, and people are listening to the entire hour. Yeah. When I compare the response, the engagement, when I compare what's happening with that, there was no contest. But I can take the podcast,
there you go,
and run it through and create an article based on the transcript. And that's where I can find people, to your point, who are really good at that. They're really good at taking the podcast and creating maybe 2, 3, 4 articles. Yeah. And then they'll publish it. And I get that out on LinkedIn and Instagram and all that. So it's getting into that rhythm, I think, is probably the most important part.
And a friend of mine said a long time ago, if the work is too hard, you got the wrong tool.
Yeah. That is so true.
Yeah. So because there are tools for everything out there.
There are
out there. And you hit on something, Matt, that was quite poignant there. I mean, you mentioned engagement. And can you mind sharing how important you found engagement to be with people?
Well, when I talk about engagement, I always throw quotes on it.
Okay. Engagement.
Because when I say the word engagement, I know what I mean by engagement. But if I'm talking to somebody else, I don't know what they think engagement is. If
Uh-huh.
I'm talking to an agency, I don't know how they define engagement. And that's one of
Okay.
the things. So I've been in the agency world for almost 20 years.
Hmm.
I was before that, I was brand side. And in dealing with agencies who they talk their own language, they have
Yeah.
their own definitions. And so when I came into the agency world, it really was apparent that the agencies have their definitions, brands and business owners have other definitions.
Okay.
And so when I'm in a room, the first thing I want to know is how do you define these terms? Because if we're on the same level, then we're talking the same language. When I talk about engagement, what I am looking at is a specific set of measurements that show me that people like the content. And I'm not just, for example, I'll see what agencies do. They'll lump together all your likes, your comments, and shares. They'll put that all together into one number and call that an engagement rate. That you had this many impressions, this many actions, and that's called an engagement rate. And I hate that. I hate it. Because what you've done is you've stripped three measurements of their meaning and added them together and called them the same.
Hmm.
Comments are not likes are not shares.
True.
They all
True.
mean something very different. And so let's measure shares as shares because that is someone promoting you without,
Yeah.
so there's different types of engagement, but really what I'm looking at is, for example, someone downloads your podcast, listens to it for an hour. That's engagement. They were giving you their attention. Someone who comes to my webpage and spends about 30 seconds glancing over 800 words of content, I'm not calling that engagement.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, I gotta ask this: a top 20 LinkedIn influencer to follow. First of all, how did that come to be? And then I want to ask you how it felt.
I have no idea. You know how I found out about this, Barrett? Someone
Oh,
called to interview me and said, "You're a top 20." And I'm like, "What? I'm a what?" I I think this was a list that was published by an
okay.
agency of people to follow, and because LinkedIn doesn't like officially do that. They tell me
Mhm,
I'm in the top, so much percentage of,
mhm.
you know, uh, of thought leaders or whatever on there. But
Yeah.
someone, there's this big article out there saying that, and I didn't even know it. Someone called me and said, "Hey, you're one of these people. We want to interview you." And so it was a nice surprise. Kind of took me off guard.
Man, I gotta tell you, that's the best answer. I have no idea. That was a great answer. 'Cause, I mean, it's as honest as you can be.
Hey, I have no secret sauce.
Right.
I do what
That's
I
okay.
do. I do what I do, and everything's gravy. If it works out, I'm happy.
That's great. Now, I gotta talk about your podcast. So, what is the name of your podcast, first of all?
The podcast is Endless Coffee Cup.
Okay.
I am a coffee snob. And
Really, plenty of friends that people to call you because I know some coffee snobs.
well, the whole point of it is, and it's funny because I named it this before COVID.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for a couple of years, but part of what it was is I used to speak a lot at conferences and I backed off on that. And I really missed the morning spent drinking coffee with people or the evening spent in the lounge. Just that's where you learn stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the sessions. The
Yeah.
sessions are, I don't know. The people were measured in what they said there. The real information was in the bar at night or in the coffee in
That's
the
true.
morning.
That is so true. You'd be up till 3 in the morning talking. Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
absolutely. So that's the what was behind the podcast is I want to talk to industry leaders, people that are smarter than me, people that know things, and I want to just have this conversation, just kind of soak in what they're saying. But it's everything from, yeah, we talk about marketing, but we also talk about culture. We talk about
Mhm.
how fake news affects us. Because that has to do with marketing.
Yeah.
Um, we talk about behavior and how it's driven by digital.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of, I would kind of call it a variety show, but staying with the marketing theme and how
Yeah.
digital affects our lives.
I love that. I love that. So you've been doing it a couple of years. Let me ask you, did you run into any obstacles starting out? For those people who are listening right now, did you have any obstacles starting out that you had to overcome?
So Bear, I started with a Yeti mic in a room with two of us. I knowing, and here's what kills me is my brother went to school for sound engineering.
Yeah.
And he was no help.
Brothers usually are.
Yeah. It was basically like, show me you can do this, and then I'll help. Now he's doing my editing. Now he's helping out because I'm like, look at the downloads. This is great. But I just started with the Yeti mic, and I feel, Barrett, my history, I love to tell people, I think I've made every mistake you could make. And that's what gives me the experience. You learn from it. But that Yeti mic, we used that for probably 3 years. We got a good sound out of it. I had to learn how to do some sound engineering, and eventually it got to the point where I could afford someone who could do some better editing and get better software. But GarageBand is still like the go-to tool. It's the best thing out there for doing what it is. And just, over the past years, I've just kind of added things here and there. My wife complains. She's like, one more mic cable shows up in the mail, and this whole stuff's going out.
Look, I mean, it's moments like that I'm kind of glad I'm single, because I know what you're talking about. I literally just got a package the other day. I'm expecting another one in a few days. So yeah, I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as the podcast, so do you do it with a solo or with guests? How does it work?
So I started out doing, I'd say the first year. So I'm in my 7th year of doing it, but I will be honest and say years 2 and 3, I maybe published 6 podcasts. Now I would say, since COVID, I've jumped it up. I was doing about every other week, but I always wanted another guest because I wanted that back and forth interaction. I love it. The serendipity is the word of when you're talking with someone and it creates a new idea that you didn't have before. That's what I want. And so I always had another person. This year, I started doing some solo episodes of about 10 to 15 minutes. And that has been really rewarding. Just commenting on previous shows or answering people's questions. The latest thing I'm doing is a series on 7 digital skills that'll never go out of style. And so it's just been a lot of fun to then, I don't put myself under pressure. It's just 10 to 15 minutes. Maybe it's 8 minutes. Who cares? Just a little bit of time to get out there and put something out there. And I'm glad I did that. Yeah.
I mean, it's a great way. Podcasting is a great form of media. And the reason I always tell people I think it's best to start with podcasting is because it's easy for you to talk about something you love.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You just hit record, you got a podcast. Yeah, it may not be the way you like your podcast to be, but it still can be a podcast because you hit record.
Yeah.
So that's all it is. You just talk about what you love. And I love that.
Yeah, you do that. And then imagine what happens when you get someone else who loves the same thing. And you're coming from maybe 2 different backgrounds, or you've got something in common. And there's just this back and forth. It just, and that's a thing about when those days where we be at conferences, you didn't even have to be a part of the conversation. You just be sitting there listening and taking notes because this is good stuff. That's when I know it's like, that was a great show.
That is true. That is so true. Hey guys, guess what? We're going to take a break here with Matt here on the Media Boss podcast. So what I want you guys to do is stay right where you are. We're going to be right back with more of the Media Boss podcast.
How are you going to learn everything you need to know about starting a podcast? Well, at the Create Your Podcast Weekend, we put it all in 2 days and help you get your podcast going by next week. That's right, by next week. All you have to do is come to the Create Your Podcast Weekend and let us show you how to get your podcast up and running. We will show you how to attract listeners. We will show you how to get people to pay you for your products and services. What products and services? The products and services we show you how to create, all at the Create Your Podcast Weekend. All you have to do is go to createyourpodcastweekend.com and get registered today. And we have special bonuses. Some of you will even get us to give you the equipment to start your podcast. That's right. We're going to give some of you the podcasting equipment to get started. Go to createyourpodcastweekend.com. That's createyourpodcastweekend.com and get started on your podcast by next week. Starting a podcast can be a daunting task. There's a lot that goes into it, and you're probably wondering if you're able to handle it. Well, why don't you just take 2 days and let us teach you how to do it at the Create Your Podcast Weekend. That's right. We're going to show you all the aspects of how to start your podcast, how to keep your podcast going, how to attract listeners, and how to make money with your podcast. CreateYourPodcastWeekend.com. Get registered right now. Do you have a podcast? Would you like to have it heard by more and more people? Well, Pantheon is the way to go. Unlock the right mindset and tactics with our program. Create momentum with repurposed content. Get paid to build your business. And with Pantheon, we'll even show you how to have a team around you that gives you a community of encouragement. Check out Pantheon today.
You and me together, we could be anything.
Hey guys, I want to tell you a little bit about Pantheon. Man, let me tell you, the Media Boss podcast is so successful right now, partly because of the work that we put in with our new partner, Pantheon. They have helped us to grow our listenership. Our downloads for our podcast have increased substantially over just the last 4 to 6 months because of our partnership with Pantheon. Let me tell you, they have made it so that we can do our work in creating great content for you guys while they help us to grow. They work tirelessly behind the scenes, making it so people are more interested in what we're putting out as far as the podcast. They put systems in place. They do training. They show us how to attract more people, and they're making it happen for us. Look, if you guys want to learn more about how to do that for yourselves or for your podcast, I suggest that you get together with the people at Pantheon. I'll set up a meeting myself with them so you can do that. Connect with me, and let's find out how you can get going with Pantheon yourself for you and your podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Media Boss Podcast. I'm Dr. Barrett Matthews, and I told you, I don't lie to you guys. I have a great show, and my guest is even greater. We got Matt Bailey here with us, and Matt has been sharing with us about digital marketing and about his podcast, which sounds like a lot of fun. I got to subscribe to that. Guys, look, check it out. I want to find out from Matt right now. If one of you were to call Matt about your business and digital marketing, Matt, what is the first thing you would say to them?
I would tell you, so someone asked me this the other day. I was teaching
Okay.
a bunch of insurance agents.
Oh,
And they
boy.
asked me if I were to start an insurance agency tomorrow, what would I do? The very first thing I would do was join a networking group, a local networking group. Because if I were to attribute my success, everything I've done to a couple of, what was the primary thing? Networking was it. Working from 20 years ago, 25 years ago, even beyond that, 30 years ago, I still benefit from the relationships that I made in those networking groups. And the cool thing is, when I join those networking groups, they go on my email list. All right. So I've got a base of people that I can talk with email. I can connect with them on LinkedIn. I connect with them on, all the social media, because now these are people that have met me face to face, and there's a whole different relationship level right there. I just stay in touch with them. And what a networking group does is they refer you business. And
That's
so if I have people I've met face to face, I'm contacting them regularly in digital, and they're seeing my content and they like what I'm doing, they're going to send me business. Start where you're at and let that grow. But networking groups are going to be the fastest way to build a network of people who like, know, and trust you. And they'll be the ones to help you build your business.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. You're absolutely right. I joined a networking group back in 2010, and I still get business and referrals from those guys.
Yeah.
I just was messaging one of them this morning. So yeah.
There's a guy I've known him now. Oh my goodness. Well, I want to say it's probably 20 years,
Yeah.
He does ad specialties. And I'm just talking to him today. I'm like, I want to get some mugs printed up, and the amount of money I have spent with him over the years now.
Yeah.
But that's a relationship. We go out to breakfast every once in a while
Exactly.
because
You're friends at this point.
yeah. And whenever he has a question about his website, about anything, he comes to me.
Exactly.
That's what happens.
You're 100% right on it. I appreciate that tip there. I hope everyone took notes of what Matt just said. Matt, before we wrap up here, I want to give you a chance to please tell the audience anything that you're doing that they can take part in.
Sure. I have got an online learning site. I have taken everything that I teach the big brands and I brought it down to, if you want to learn how to do digital marketing, go to learn.sitelogic.com. And right there, I've got a couple of courses that are available right now. One is a certification course. If you want to make a career out of digital marketing, the certification course gives you everything you need to know in the 9 primary disciplines of digital marketing. Once you pass that, you can sit for the Online Marketing Certified Associate exam. And I'll pay for that exam because I'm that confident you'll pass it. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm also
Can't beat
launching an analytics course. And business owners, you don't understand digital analytics. This is where we learn about how to properly define terms, expectations, how to talk to an agency, and what really good measurements are. That's a course you're absolutely going to need to have.
Wow, I'm blown away by that. And I'm sure the audience is as well. Look, guys, support Matt. Check out his website. Matt, give the name of your podcast again, please.
Sure. The website is SiteLogic, SiteLogic, SiteLogic. And the learning site is learn.sitelogic.com, but you can get to each other from there. The podcast is the Endless Coffee Cup Podcast, where we caffeinate your digital marketing.
I love it. That was good. Matt, thank you for joining us here in the Media Boss Podcast, brother. I really appreciate you. You're welcome back anytime.
Oh, thank you, Barrett. I might take you up on that because this was a lot of fun.
It was fun for me too. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
So guys, guess what? I got something for you as well. For those of you, if it's your first time, you probably don't know what I'm going to offer you. But if it's your second, third, you know what I'm going to do. I have a complimentary training for all of you. And some of you can watch it again and again. It's to help you get more clients. I have a guy, he watched it over and over again because he said he's trying to learn more and more and make it part of who he is. That is, go to 5waystoPayingClients.com. 5waystoPayingClients.com. You'll learn some things about why you're not getting those paying clients and how you can get those paying clients. It's my gift from me to you. Now, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to get out of here the way we get out of here on the Media Boss Podcast. So stick and stay. We'll be right back.
Why should you contact Media Boss Club right now? Well, because you can get a podcast done for you. You can learn all the aspects that go into putting together a great podcast and have someone else do it for you. That's right. We will build your podcast around your content and make it so you can concentrate on the money-making activities of your business. Contact MediaBossClub.com. That's MediaBossClub.com today and let us get your podcast started right now. Let's face it, you've been talking about starting a podcast for quite some time, but you haven't started yet. Why is that? Could it be that you just don't have the time because your day-to-day keeps you so busy? Or could it be that you don't want to learn all the technical aspects that go into putting together a quality podcast? Well, at Media Boss Club, we take care of that for you. How would you like to have a done-for-you experience? That's right. At Media Boss Club, we build your podcast for you. We will edit your podcast. We will put in the music for you. We even put in commercial breaks that you can put your advertisers in. We will take care of all of the uploading to the great podcast platforms that are out there. That's right, we do everything. All you have to do is just right now go to MediaBossClub.com. That's MediaBossClub.com and let us handle the heavy lifting for you.
Do you
you have a podcast? Would you like to have it heard by more and more people? Well, Pantheon is the way to go. Unlock the right mindset and tactics with our program. Create momentum with repurposed content. Get paid to build your business. And with Pantheon, we'll even show you how to have a team around you that gives you a community of encouragement. Check out Pantheon today.
You and me together, we could be anything.
Hey everybody, the Media Boss Podcast has been brought to you by our partners, Pantheon and Convert and Flow. Make sure you get with us so you can find out more about how you can help your business run smoothly with Pantheon and Convert and Flow.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Media Boss Podcast. Man, we had some fun today with Matt Bailey, and we're going to get ready to get out of here. Now, y'all know what we do on this show. When we get out of the Media Boss Podcast, first, I have some announcements for you. One, I want you to support the podcast. Go to patreon.com/Media Boss Podcast. Make sure you're supporting the show. We got some great perks for you. Also, I just gave you something, guys. 5 ways to paying clients. Make sure you take advantage of that. 5 ways to payingclients.com. Check it out. If you are really serious about becoming a media boss, I mean, making sure that you can get all that social media, all that digital marketing, make sure that you have a streaming TV show, make sure that you have a podcast that's getting downloads, make sure you have books, all of those things. Make sure you have those in order. Then I want you to come to my 5-day challenge. That's right, my 5-day challenge. It's called the Make Money from Media Challenge. So go to makemoneyfrommediachallenge.com, makemoneyfrommediachallenge.com. Go ahead and get registered. If you become a VIP, I got something extra special for you. I'm just saying, VIPs, you know, if you're a VIP, you know it, right? Okay. Now, if you want to have your own podcast and you'd like some help, if you want someone maybe even to do it for you, text the word podcast to 929-244-4323. Text the word podcast to 929-244-4323. And last but definitely not least, I want you guys to make sure you subscribe to the Media Boss Podcast. Leave us a good rating, leave us a good review. We want to know you're supporting the show as well, so we can say thank you to you on that. So, guys, you know how we get out of here. Y'all ready? You ready? All right, we're going to count down from 3. 3, 2, 1. Media Boss